when God decides to call witnesses just so that he can utter a decree against us. God does not need to call anybody to do anything. I studied through scripture and I realized God has 24 elders, but there has never been a time where he consulted them for anything. I wonder, why would you have an elder if the elder has no input in what you do? And I realized that sometimes God in his all-sufficiency can carry out an escapade. But even though he requires a certain level of alignment and quorum to legislate, the witnesses of the elders sometimes is just to be present, to be aware that in the day you are summoned, when anything is spoken to you to execute upon the face of the earth and you fail to execute it, they take record. And just because they don't speak does not mean they are not taking record. And all the resources of heaven that you have wasted on the account of your carelessness, one day will be reckoned against you. It is the same way that a time came before the laws we actually instituted. There was a gathering, there was a quorum, there was a summoning upon which Moses was a representative. And Moses came in that representation, and there was a council. And in that council, decision was made regarding Israel. And although they were not present, they had a priest that was present. And it was demanded that in their day, whosoever refused to obey Moses is cut off. That means in every dispensation, in every time, God sent men. And our destiny can only be unlocked, come into full functionality to the degree to which we align with those men. I know you have a desire to see God. You have the desire to find God. And that desperation, that zeal, whether you like it or not, may not be achieved by 100 days fasting and prayer upon a mountain. Many more times, God has to test the alignment of your heart. God will have to be able to check your compliance to obedience. And oftentimes, people that cannot even obey men upon the face of the earth will disobey God by default. If you cannot obey men that you see, how can you obey God you cannot see? It was easy for the children of Israel to obey Moses than for them to obey God. In the day God decided to come closer to them, they realized that it's going to be very hard to do business with God. Not because they do not want to, but the nature to which God carries cannot behold anything that is dead. And because they still have the availability of the enjoyment of their life, and they don't want to give it for anything. They don't want to die at any point, so they could not carry the glory of God. So Moses knows the ways of God, but they know the act of God. So with all the beauty of the testimony they celebrated, it was just an act of God. You can share many testimony, and yet again it's just but an act. Except you are given the privilege to enter into the economy of the glory of God, to know the ways of God. You cannot take another person to that same economy. No wonder among the millions children of Israel, they remain as children. Only Moses, that was a son. It was never the intention of God to have a number of people. The intention of God was to multiply many sons. Because God was done in creation. And as long as he was done, what he wanted to achieve was to find a perfect man. And that perfect man is a prime definition of a man that cannot die. And Moses was the only economy in keeping to that landscape that had entered into that resurrection. And because Moses entered into an economy of resurrection, he can by default be a gateway for others to pass through. So he said, there may be many prophets among you, but this one, I can speak to you face to face. Yet again, Moses came into a point that God told him that there are certain things in me that if you see, you will die. Yet again, Moses chose death. Why was he choosing death? Because he knew that there can never be glory except that is dead. And I want to pick up from the landscape of where we stop, where Apostle Abila stopped. That actually the way to life is actually the way of death. Many of you, the reason why you are not functioning in life is because you have ascertained stature in death. And because you have ascertained stature in death, you refuse to choose life. And because you refuse to choose life, death in itself is an economy that can keep you in bondage till the end of time. I want to submit to you that forget about life until you are willing to die, because you already have a life. You were born with a life. You were diseased by a life. But what happened to us in salvation is an exchange of life. But many of us came to the altar. Yet again, we carry our own life and we find another place to carry the life of God. And you see, the Spirit of God will never contend with man. So the reason why God left you the way you are is not because he cannot do much with you. It's because you decide to choose death. And so he said, I call upon heavens and I call upon the earth, that this day within the economy of heaven, where the celestial dwell, within the economy beyond where you are created, and within the economy to which you have dominion, let this be against you, that you're already given the privilege to decide whether you will live in death or you will live in life. So life is actually a free gift. Death is also a choice. I don't want to believe that death is a gift. Death is a choice, but life is a gift. Because we are not deserving of life. We are actually perpetually being aware in death. God gave life to Adam. Adam sowed the life and chose an economy of death. And he remained in that economy of death. So by default, we are aware in this realm in death. So we must be able to rebel against that Adamic nature consciously. You are not aware, I understand. But from today, as I speak unto you, you are judged. So peradventure you came in here with your own life and you are thinking, let Apostle Philip be done saying what he's doing. Let me go back to what I know how to do best. I speak unto you, a day will come, you will stand and the earth will judge you. The heavens will judge you. You will look upon and wonder, why does it seem to be as if God is not fair? God is not fair by default. God is just. And his justice system sometimes create an availability for you called hell, called a lake of fire. So that if without those availability, how can you exist? So even if you feel that you decide to choose death, no problem. You still have a future in death. But how great is that future? Because God has made preparation, availability for everybody. Whatever decision you take, peradventure if you appear in the corridors in heaven and you wonder, how comes in this economy that I stand in, how comes I don't have a lot of advantage? You wonder why. There is a preparation meant for you in death. So the Bible look upon us in the landscape of the truth of the Lord to let us understand that we are demanded to choose life. He advised us, choose life so that we can live and our children can live. So the reason to which you are the way you are today is because of somebody that refused to choose life. When Apostle was here, he was talking about how he wished that peradventure he came to a time where he lived a bad life so that he can have a testimony. I look upon him and say, sir, peradventure you were a bad guy. You may never have been here. You might have died since. Because the people that choose death by default, most times they don't live too long to enjoy the benefit of the death. It will not take too long. You will be in a state of waiting in Hades, and gradually you gravitate into the lake of fire, because the devil has already structured a way to ensure that after you enjoy the pleasure for a while, you are cut off. The only guarantee for you to survive on this earth is to have life. I shall not die, but live to declare. So what makes you to even be alive today is because you are walking in life. And peradventure you are still walking in death and you are still alive. You are living upon the last strand of the mercy of God. It doesn't last too long.